We should be recording. Welcome. My name is Jamie Seidel. I am a pre-ISA process lead for group study and ASO study, and I also help out with miscellaneous tasks like this one. And then we have Taylor Jerome here, who has also helped with this effort, and she's also on the pre-ISA team as a case owner. So what we're going to be going through today is our new knowledge page that we're really excited about. It's an overview of the standard DG process steps. So if you are a simplified customer, I don't think that this will be as much help to you, but still feel free to listen and join along. So what this page is it's just going to go through each status that your case will be in, all the way from the very beginning to interconnection. And then within each of those statuses, it's going to explain like what to expect, your action items, and then some other useful resources there. So this is the PDF just to show what we're going to go through. The page will have a process map, documents for case status, other potential statuses that don't really go in the original flow, like holds, for example, or pending withdrawal or things like that. And then there's a resource link section. And then after we go through that, I'm just going to give a really quick sneak peek of basically the same thing we're going to do with this page, we're going to do for the group study process page. It's already in the works. It should be public by, I think our goal is July, hopefully sooner than that. But we want to get that up and running as soon as possible as well, because most projects are going through the group study process. And then once we go through all of that, we're looking forward to any questions, feedback, suggestions, anything you guys may have after reviewing. So I don't think this should take too long, but here's the link, and I'm just going to pull the page right onto the screen so you can see. So this one is actually public to all. Looks like the typical knowledge page that we have, MA standard DG process steps. What the intent is, we also mentioned that we have the group study process coming soon. So the group study page will be linked here as well when that is available. This very first section here is process maps for pre-ISA. We split up, and then post-ISA. The pre-ISA one is complete. This one's probably going to be the most complex map because there's a lot of different pathways your project can go through during the pre-ISA process. The post-ISA is being worked on and should be coming soon, hopefully also by July timeframe. But I'm not going to go through the whole map, and I'm just going to pull it up on the screen just so you guys can sort of see what the deal is with this. So it's a pretty big document. It's a PDF. You might have to zoom in at some parts of this, but we do have the key here to show you what you should be looking for. Red is a hold. Green indicates some progression with the project. Yellow is a checkpoint. Light blue is customer action items, and then dark blue is company action items. So your project's always going to start here. You're going to go through the timeline path, whether it's 55 or 95 business day. And then if it's greater than a megawatt, you'll go down here. If it's not, you'll go here. And eventually you're going to still come back and make your way down here to the distribution payment when the study starts. And then once again, if it's greater than a megawatt, there's going to be other action items required from you, especially PSCAD modeling, and then PSSE of greater than 5. And then you work your way through that distribution study process, including ASO if required. And then, once you get that I-39 approval, if your project's greater than a megawatt, and this is where it says, the DSIS, the distribution impact study, would be able to resume, and it progresses. And then from there, it progresses all the way to ISA payment. And then once we get that 25% or initial payment, your project is transferred to post ISA, which is what the next flow chart map that isn't yet available will guide you through. So this is just really high level stuff to give you the overall visual of the process. And then as we come back to the page into the next section, it's process step documents per case status listed in order of how it should progress. I'm not going to go through all of them, or we would be here all day long. But I can just sort of pull up one just so you can see the format of the document. They're all pretty much formatted the exact same way. Let's see, I feel like this one might be this one. So at the top, it's going to always say the case status name. This is what you'll see on your case. It'll have this is the status, this is the step, and then this is the substep. So if you ever see two dashes, it just means that there's a status, step, and a substep. The first part here is basically just explaining why it's in this status and what that means. And then as you keep going, it'll explain like what action items are required from the customer at this point, how to perform those action items, basically resource, anything that you're going to need to get what's required if you've done. And then next status will always be at the end of each of these to show you where your project will go from this status, and then to this status. So this one's sort of a complicated one because it could either go back to study in progress, initial review, or it could go to study hold, ASO hold, depending on the size of the project. So this one would have two options. And then we always refer you back to the main page here. So you can always find where you started. And then you're like, oh, I need to go look at this document. So you can go back to that page, click on the ASO hold document, and then it'll explain everything about the ASO hold. So as you keep going down through the process, some of them, like this one, doesn't have a PDF because it is a status, but it's just, there's no customer action items. It's a really brief status. But we do explain very clearly like what happens at this point. It's a 5 business day status. But if you do hover over it, you see a line underneath, it means there's a PDF there, or it's a link to another knowledge page to show you what to expect at that point in the process. And then as we move towards conditional approval, ISA delivery, and then here is where the project would be transferred over to post ISA representative. And then these are, see how like it says PDF, then we go into web pages because there's a lot of information here on design, a lot of information here on construction prep, scheduling, field work, and then also completion documents, witness testing, really, really good stuff that we've had available, but this was just a lot easier to understand in that order. And then other potential case statuses, these aren't PDFs, but these are just showing you other statuses that your project may be in, like a study hold that's not related to initial review, a pending withdraw, or study restudy. So you might see these. I think the intention is to have process docs available for these as well, but we do just want to mention here that these are potential case statuses that don't really just go in the original flow of the interconnection process. And then lastly, we have our resource links, just other knowledge pages that will help you through the standard DG process. Interconnection documents have a lot of forms and other useful resources, ASO study updates, MADG stakeholder meeting information. This is actually where I'm going to be posting today's recording on this one. And then estimated costs for the year, and then our MA distribution group studies page as well. And then once the group study process page is available, I'll also link this down here too. And I'll pause. I know we're going to go over questions at the end, but I did just want to briefly show you guys before we go through any questions or feedback you guys may have of our upcoming. This is an internal view. It won't look like this. It'll look more like this, but this is going to be the group study process steps. There's a lot more statuses for a group study, so it's going to look a little bit more intimidating, but it's pretty much the same idea. We're going to have a PDF for each step from screening complete all the way to group study design. And then once it goes to design, that's when your project would be, removed from the group study, and you would be reverting back to this page all the way down here. You go to this design, then you just follow the construction till the end. And then these are all the other potential case that is also really intimidating. We might change the layout of this, but there's a lot of timeframe suspension statuses in a group study that are possible. A lot of them won't be used, but just so you have a heads up on specific group study status. I think we're gonna have a PDF for each number here, just to show like a quick summary of what each of these means. And then resource links, like I said, it's coming soon, so we'll have to add all those there. But just a really quick sneak peek, like I said, July is our goal to get this up and running, similar to the DG process steps. So that was a lot of information in a little bit of time, but just wanted to pause now and see if anybody had any questions, feedback. Feel free to come off mute for those that are online. Yep.